Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me today. I'm excited to introduce MRR for CPQ, a new Salesforce solution designed to streamline monthly recurring revenue calculations within Salesforce CPQ. We'll begin by reviewing product setup, then create a new opportunity and quote to demonstrate how MRR for CPQ calculates both recurring and non-recurring revenue. Next, we'll dive into contract and subscription management, covering amendment and renewal processes to show how MRR for CPQ handles complex customer scenarios. Finally, we'll wrap up with a reporting example highlighting the enhanced visibility and insights available through this package. With that, let's get started. All right, for product configuration, we'll review how to set up non-recurring revenue and recurring revenue products. For recurring revenue products, simply populate the subscription type field and the subscription term field for the package to recognize the product as a recurring revenue product. For non-recurring revenue products, simply leave these fields blank. Once you've completed product setup, you're ready to begin utilizing the MRR for CPQ package. Before we move forward, I recommend pausing this video to review the definitions for our revenue reporting fields, which include non-recurring revenue, new business MRR, renewed MRR, and delta MRR. Having a solid understanding of these fields will ensure you can fully leverage the package's reporting capabilities. Now, let's walk through a new business quote and opportunity example to see how MRR for CPQ handles both recurring and non-recurring revenue in action. For our new business example, I've gone ahead and created a new business quote. Following the standard CPQ process flow, we'll go to the quote line editor by clicking Edit Lines. In here, we're going to go ahead and add a non-recurring revenue product. For this example, we'll select hardware. I'll also go ahead and increase this quantity to 5. Once I click Quick Save, we'll notice a few things. The net total is updated, but the non-recurring revenue field at the top is also updated. In this example, we have a quantity of 5 hardware at a $100,000 list unit price for a net total of $500,000. Because this product is non-recurring revenue, all of this non-recurring revenue goes to the non-recurring revenue bucket. Next, we'll add a recurring revenue product. For this one, we'll take a standard subscription. And we'll add a quantity of 10 and quick save. In this example, we have a quantity of 10, a list unit price of $1,200, and a net total of $12,000. Our new business MRR is $1,000. If we take a second to analyze and do the math, we'll note that we have a 12-month term, and we have $12,000 as the net total, which breaks down to $1,000 of monthly recurring revenue in this example. If we go back to the quote, you can note that the fields in the revenue reporting section are populated. These are the same fields that show up in the quote line editor. Additionally, it's important to note that the fields here are roll-up summaries of all quote lines. Continuing with our example, I've gone ahead and contracted the new business quote. As you can see here, the recurring revenue product has turned into a subscription record related to the contract. There is also a new field called active MRR. Active MRR is the total MRR of subscriptions, including changes due to amendments. We'll talk more about active MRR later once we go through an amendment contract example. For our amendment opportunity and quote example, we're going to enter the quote line editor and increase the quantity of our subscription by 5 units. Once we increase the quantity by 5, we're going to quick save. You'll notice that the delta MRR value is populated with $500. If we take a second to do the math, with a subscription term length of 12 and a net total increase of $6,000, that would be a positive delta of $500 recurring. We can do the opposite and decrease the quantity to 5 and quick save. And you'll notice that the exact opposite has happened. We've had a decrease of $500 in MRR. Continuing on with this example, we'll move it back to an expansion of 5 units. Additionally, I'm going to add another subscription product. And we'll put in a quantity of 5 for this one. Once we quick save, you'll notice that we have new business of $500. We've added a new license at a quantity of 5 and a list unit price of $1,200 for a net total of $6,000. Because our subscription term length is 12, we have $500 in new business MRR. Once again, if we save and go back to the quote, you'll notice these fields are populated on the quote header. After completing the amendment, I've gone ahead and paired back to the original contract. As you can see here, we now have $2,000 of active MRR. This active MRR comes from the $500 of Delta MRR added to the $1,500 of new business MRR for a total active MRR of $2,000. Thinking back to our original quote, we had new business MRR of $1,000. Once we amended, we did two things. We had an expansion of 5 units on the original quote line, which is represented as this $500 of Delta MRR. Additionally, we added another subscription record that was a new quote line that added $500 to the new business MRR, totaling up to $2,000 of active MRR. Next, I've gone ahead and created a renewal quote and opportunity. If we go to the quote line editor by clicking Edit Lines, we'll notice that the 2 subscription records that we had created through our original quote and the amendment quote are now here. At the top, you can see that we have a renewed MRR of $2,000. Renewed MRR is the portion of MRR that comes from the contract. To demonstrate this, let's say that we increase the quantity of this license by 10 and click Save. We'll notice that we have a renewed MRR of $2,000 because the active MRR from our contract was $2,000. Additionally, because we added a quantity of 10 with a term length of 12 and a list price of $1,200, we have $1,000 of Delta MRR. If we were to decrease this value and cancel the product, you'll notice that the renewed MRR went down. And we also have a negative Delta MRR to show the decrease in value. In this example, if we save the quote, you notice these values show up on the quote header. For the last portion of this demo, we'll review how to report on MRR for CPQ. As you can see based on this report, we're pulling in all MRR fields related to the contract, that being active MRR, new business MRR, renewed MRR, and Delta MRR. Below, you can see that we have broken down the MRR by account and contract, as well as showing their respective MRR revenue reporting fields. This is an easy way to look at all of your active MRR related to contracts, where it's coming from, whether it be new business, renewed MRR, or Delta MRR. Another important note not shown here is that this package actually calculates MRR at the quote line and subscription levels. Because of that, you can analyze product performance individually. Additionally, if you want to report outside of active MRR from your contracts, you can do opportunity forecast models and implement an opportunity stage weighting to show forecasted MRR from new business, renewed, or even Delta. And that concludes the demo of MRR for CPQ. Please feel free to reach out if you have any additional questions. Thanks.